everyone, I'm Tanya Kupchandani-Vatsa and I'm the founder and CEO of Elixir Wellness. Today we're here for the 5th episode of Spillingfacts and it's all about nutrition with Bhakti Kapoor. Bhakti has been with Elixir for almost a year now.
Yes.
And I'd love for her to tell you more about her background and then we're diving right into little tips that will help you with your nutrition.
Thank you, Tanya, for having me here. So, I'm Bhakti Kapoor, a nutritionist with a master's in food science and nutrition. I've been in this field for the last 4 years. I'm the mother of 2 lovely boys. They're 15 and 10. And this is passion driven for me. After having studied this back in the day, I took my time to raise the boys, and my own journey with nutrition and fitness inspired me to spread the wisdom through my virtual nutrition counseling platform that's called Healthy High. And I'm so excited to be associated with Elixir. It just feels like family, and I absolutely love the work atmosphere here, love working with you, amazing clients that we meet along the way. And it's so fulfilling to help people lead healthier and happier lives. So I'm really glad that I found my ikigai, and I jump out of bed each day super excited to motivate and inspire and educate and inform people of healthier ways to lead their lives.
And I have to add that Bhakti's own fitness and nutrition, we've seen her eat and how well balanced her plate and everything is, inspires all of us on a daily basis
nice.
as well. Before we dive into nutrition, Bhakti, tell us what's your favorite service at Elixir?
Oh, so my absolute favorite is of course the Medifacials. Like, I do that very often, and I've seen how it's brought like a proper transformation in the quality of skin, and the IVs that I do on a monthly basis. It's really shot my immunity levels in a great way. And also it's helped with how the collagen boosting in the skin has improved. So I totally swear by the Medifacials and the IVs here.
So let's talk fat loss. Our first client at Elixir when we started this center, our Better Road flagship, last July was one for fat loss, and we worked with the combination of Bhakti's nutrition tips and of course follow-ups and religious follow-ups. In fact, I know he was here regularly, and our fat loss machines. So I'd love for you to tell us what led to the success. He lost 25 kilos over a 12-week period.
Right. So what I realized is that the state-of-the-art technology that Elixir has to offer for stubborn fat areas, like the fat cavitation that we used with that client, really goes a long way in helping them tap onto those stubborn areas. With nutrition, of course, we're doing a very personalized approach. We're educating and empowering our clients to eat right, and that helps them to form a healthy lifestyle, which once you drop the weight with your assisted machine fat loss, then you're able to sustain it when you're educated about the right way to eat on a daily basis. And no 2 plans are ever the same. Our approach here is very customized. So when you're eating right for your body, you'll realize how that is what keeps you going, because it helps you to fall in love with healthy eating. You feel like it's a plan just for you. You're not doing something that's just on the internet. That one size fits all does not really work. It has to really feel like this is for me. My body feels the best because our body is constantly talking to us. So when you're tuning in to your body's cues and eating the right way for your body, you'll notice that that's when you can truly sustain your fat loss.
That's super helpful actually, and I have to say with personal experience that I know your plans are truly tailor-made. So are your brilliant recipes. So they're really, really helpful and an absolute must try. So let's talk about the concept of a balanced plate. What should be on our plates?
Right. So your plate, you can picture as dividing it into 4 parts, right? Half of your plate should be filled with your low carb vegetables and fruits. Now, when I say low carb, it includes all your high water vegetables like your zucchini, mushrooms, bok choy, beans, cauliflower, spinach, like all your leafy greens. And of course, your low sugar fruits like your blueberries, guava, apples, oranges, all of that. So half of your plate should comprise of these fiber, antioxidant, brightly colored fruits and vegetables, 1/4 of it should be your carbohydrate intake. Now that could be in the form of your grains like rice, it could be quinoa, it could be millets like your ragi, jawar, bajra, finger millet. There are like tons of nutrient rich millets out there. And even your lentils and beans, a lot of Indians feel like if I'm having my dal, I'm getting my protein. But that's not actually true, because 60 to 65% is carbohydrate in these dals and lentils. And so that would also comprise as more of your carbohydrate intake. And so 1/4 of your plate should be your carbohydrate rich foods. That would also include your corn and potatoes. And 1/4 of your plate should be your protein rich sources. Now protein for vegetarians would be milk and milk products and soy products. And for non-vegetarians, of course, all your meat sources like your eggs, chicken, mutton, fish would be your protein sources. And not to forget the good fats. Now your nuts and seeds, your olive oil, ghee, all of this includes, and of course avocados, all of this includes your good fat. So about a thumb size, like a tiny portion should come from your good fat. So that's your balanced plate, a wide variety of everything, but in moderation.
That's really helpful. Actually, I'm literally picturing it as we speak. So my next question for you actually was on something we briefly touched on, which is proteins. So ICMR guidelines now have come up with restrictions on protein shakes and what should and should not be in them. I want to touch on that a bit, and then what are the alternatives that people should be taking to make sure that they get adequate sources of protein?
Right. So protein honestly is very underrated, but it is so important. Each day that we do not get enough protein is when there's metabolic aging in the body, right? So like I mentioned, say 9 out of 10 Indians don't eat enough protein. And honestly, the ICMR guidelines are really misread, because what they say is over 1.6 gram per kg per day body weight is what you shouldn't exceed, right? I mean, there are some athletes, there are some individuals who are just doing protein shakes and they're replacing healthy food with that. So that's not healthy. Also, what they realize is one of the latest researchers pointed out that a lot of the top Indian brands that provide protein supplements, they were not disclosing their true ingredients, and what they were claiming, they were all false claims. So what we need to be sure of, that we pick a clean protein with no added sugars, the ones that avoid artificial sweeteners and colorings and additives. So like what ideally you can opt for is a clean protein, like an unflavored one. Make a nice smoothie out of it. That's a great way to get in your protein with no extra carbohydrates coming in. Say for someone who's wanting weight loss, like I mentioned, for vegetarians, the sources do get limited. And for someone who, for example, for an athlete to really have higher protein requirements, then to meet them, you can use the assistance of a protein supplement, but it must be an absolute clean one.
So my next question to you actually is more of a fact check. I recently saw on your page that, and it's something that I didn't know either, that coffee depletes your sodium in the body. Can we talk a little bit more about that?
Absolutely, yes. So coffee is a diuretic. And each time that you have a cup of coffee, about 600 milligrams of sodium gets depleted of the body. And very often when we're at work, we're not realizing 3-4 cups just going in. So that's about 1200 milligrams of sodium that the body is losing. And our sodium is very important for your electrolyte balance, for your nerve impulse connection, a lot of functions. So each time that we have coffee, all we need to do is replenish with electrolytes. Now that could be just adding some Celtic salt or the Himalayan pink salt to our water, and you're replenishing the electrolytes. So coffee is not a no, but everything in moderation. Like I said, 2 to 3 glasses topmost. Again, make sure that's not interfering with your sleep. So hydration is an absolute priority when it comes to anyone who's consuming coffee.
It's really interesting to know, especially given the heat that we've just been through.
Yes, yeah.
This is something important to keep in mind. So, what is the most common question you get as a nutritionist?
Okay, so almost every client who signs up, the first thing they say is that I'm eating so healthy and I'm working out every day, but I don't lose weight and I don't know what's off with me and my hormones. So, that's when I'm able, firstly, I take a detailed dietary recall from them and I educate by pinpointing for them what they consider healthy, but what is actually healthy. You know, the thing is that how we were eating in our 20s, we cannot be eating the same way in our 30s and 40s. So we don't realize that age slows down our metabolism, and we continue to eat the same way, and we wonder what's going on with the body, why are we just putting on fat. So of course, educating them on how to do things better really goes a long way. It helps them, and like I said, making fine-tuning personalized changes for their plan really helps. So the constant struggle, I mean, with majority has just been, I want to drop fat and I want a quick fix for it. But honestly, there are no quick fixes. You have to do what feels fabulous for you. Like enjoying the journey on a daily basis is important. Nothing too intense, like just wanting to say drop 3 kgs a week. That's ridiculous, because that's more a water loss, and you'll notice that the weight that goes quickly also comes back quickly. So we need, when we work, we set targets of about 3 to max 4 kgs a month, which is sustainable fat loss. And honestly, what I get from all clients is that, listen, my weight doesn't come back up even if I'm traveling. That's because it's amazing. Sustained fat loss. And what happens during the journey when you're eating mindfully and you're eating controlled portion, that becomes more of a lifestyle.
Okay.
So even when you have temptations around, you're still really portioning out things, and it does not derail you.
That's amazing. And actually, talking about fat and fat loss and quick fixes for fat loss, I want to talk about Ozempic and these inhibitors like semaglutide, liraglutide that have become all the rage
Absolutely.
So that again is a quick fix, but I'd love to hear from you what your opinion is of them and what you actually think are the side effects as well.
Right. So Ozempic and Rybelsus, is widely used today. I mean, so many of my clients are telling me day in and day out, can I use this? Honestly, these are hormones that mimic fullness in the body, right? So what happens when you're taking that drug, your brain gets a message that you're feeling full. So automatically the calories that you're ingesting are going to be lesser, which then helps with fat loss. But it has a negative impact on your gut health. It causes nausea, diarrhea for many, and vomiting. And in the long run, it can have issues on your pancreas. So, if you're using it on a short-term basis because you have accepted that you are lazy, you do not want to follow a plan to the T, you don't want to invest the time in exercising, so you want to do it as a short-term, like a 3-6 month thing, then that's absolutely fine. But please make sure that you're nourishing really well, because what happens is when your appetite goes for a toss, you're not able to eat enough protein, and when that's happening, you will lose muscle. So when you drop your weight, you don't want to look haggard and old, like when you drop weight the right way by eating right, you'll notice that there's that glow in your body, you're feeling energetic, your gut feels fabulous. So, you're really thriving. But with these drugs, you're not able to do that. So, do you want that weight loss just for that number on the scale and not able to feel your best? So it's really something that you have to answer and find out for yourself.
And I believe that weight doesn't stay off either.
Absolutely. Because see, at that point, it's suppressing your hunger. But once you're going off the drug, that hunger is going to come back. And it's really going to come back with vengeance, right? So, really, I would definitely not be an advocate of it ever, because there are non-calorie fillers that we use, and you can definitely, your body is a very intelligent system, you can get yourself to eat the right way in balanced proportions and drop weight beautifully.
So intermittent fasting is something I know that you swear by for your own self.
Absolutely.
Let's talk more about it. How does it work?
Right. So intermittent fasting honestly is not a fad diet. It is a lifestyle. When you are eating for a few hours and you're fasting for it could be a 14-10 window or a 16-8 window, depending on what works for your body, and you can get some fabulous results with it. One is improving insulin sensitivity. Now you're aware that insulin resistance is one of the major causes for all metabolic disorders. From your diabetes to hypertension to dyslipidemia to your heart issues. all can just stem from insulin resistance. So fasting definitely helps with that. It helps with gut health. Now, gut health is something that is of prime importance, gut being the epicenter of your well-being. So our intestine has millions of bacteria, both good and bad. And when the good bacteria is diminished and the bad bacteria overpowers, that's when there's a dysbiosis in the gut. Which means that you could be experiencing acidity, bloating, constipation, right? These are all signs that your gut is crying out for help.
Okay.
Now, when you're fasting, you're giving your gut that due rest that it requires, like a break from digesting food. It helps to repair the gut lining and the good bacteria is able to thrive.
Okay.
So that does brilliantly well for your gut, and 70% of your immune system resides there. Your happy hormones are synthesized there. So by fasting, you're adding to your immunity as well as your happy hormones. And of course, not to forget, weight loss is a brilliant byproduct of intermittent fasting. Especially fat stored around the belly area really helps to kind of diminish with time. And it has advantages on your brain health, also on longevity. I mean, you're aware of the term called autophagy, right? Where old, worn out cells are flushed out of the body during this fasting period. Okay. Now, the only key importance is that during intermittent fasting, during your eating window, you have to eat right. Like, nourishing is really, really important. Not to skimp in that period on what the body requires, like the balanced plate that we spoke about, a minimum of 2 meals comprising half your plate of vegetables, enough protein, your complex carbohydrates, good fat. So if you're doing even 2 of those meals, like, it's good enough for you. Obviously, depending on your health goals.
Bad eating.
Not at all. Then you're defeating the purpose. And no junk, of course, no processed food, because processed food again is only going to hamper your health. So when you're eating, you really need to talk to yourself, like look at the plate and ask yourself, what is it providing to my body, and that really helps.
I'm picturing my own plate and what I'm doing in my eating window, which is why I'm laughing. But actually, there's a lot of rumors about intermittent fasting. So I started it recently and I posted many times on my stories like, okay, fasting window successfully completed. And I get a lot of messages from followers, random saying so and so has told me that it's not good for PCOS, so it's not good for hormones. So let's address that and correct those myths.
Right. So like I said, I'm a firm believer of intermittent fasting. Of course, there are a few handful for whom it doesn't work, but again, they would be someone who get headaches, who get acidic when they don't eat, and even for them, we work around a different way where we still give low calorie fillers, so that the body does not build acid. But intermittent fasting, whether it's for PCOS, thyroid, heart health, diabetes, any issue, you can fix it honestly with intermittent fasting. Is just about eating right in that window.
Okay.
And you have to really get it to work for you. So working with someone and constantly tailoring it. So what happens is the body gets very accustomed to like an eating pattern. Say if you've been doing it for really long, even if that is with some exercise, right? If you've been doing that for years, the body starts to resist any change then. So you have to shake things up. You have to keep your body in a state of metabolic flexibility, constantly switching things up so that you get it to work for you. And PCOS honestly can be totally reversed with intermittent fasting when done right. And it's not only the nutrition, but of course your sleep, your exercise, like I said, your gut health, your mental health, all of these work in sync. And that is when you can really come around reversing health issues.
So coming right into that, we're seeing a huge rise in metabolic disorders, hormonal imbalances, PCOS, thyroid diseases as well. Is there anything that can be done to avoid these?
Absolutely. So why are these metabolic disorders increasing? Firstly, of course, we're eating too much too often and we're eating the wrong kind of foods. So having a lot of processed foods, leaning more towards, the carbohydrate-rich, refined grains, sugars, all of that is causing a disturbance. Also, our food today is sadly laden with antibiotics, hormones. Like a lot of the dairy you would have heard is
Absolutely true.
has turned so inflammatory because of the additives. Even our fruits sometimes are ingested. Our spices and herbs, sometimes are really they're not like the most nourishing because of the added preservatives, toxins, all of that. So choosing organic foods, of course, is something that can go a long way in avoiding these metabolic disorders. And like we spoke, just balancing your plate, right, and eating in a way that supports your health and metabolism is something that can help you to reverse all your health issues.
Amazing. So going to a slightly different age category, bones in women and women's health, what can be done to supplement in terms of calcium?
Right. So what most people feel like it's just milk that is giving me enough calcium. But honestly, you'd be amazed to know, have you heard of moringa?
Yes, I have.
It's a superfood. It's a miracle tree. Honestly, that is one of the most nutritious foods that we all should be including on a daily basis. So moringa, contains about 2,000 milligrams per 100 grams.
Wow.
That much calcium in it. So just about a teaspoon, add it to your buttermilk, or just have it with water, or your soups, or your chilas, or I add it to the rotis for my kids.
Okay.
Because you can't even imagine the amount of nourishment in that 1 teaspoon of moringa. So that is one of my most favorite foods that are the richest in calcium. Now for bones, it's not just calcium that we need. We also need vitamin D, K2, zinc, protein, omega-3 fatty acids, phosphorus, potassium, all of these. So when you're eating a balanced plate, you're definitely going to be getting all of this. Now, strength training is something that is, again, not many women invest their time into it, but that goes a long way in making sure that your bone density stays at its best. Especially around menopause, osteopenia increases, which is your bones start to get depleted in its calcium levels. So when you're doing strength training, you're making sure that you can reverse this and you can completely cessate this deterioration that is naturally happening due to your hormones.
My last question for you, Bhakti, is supplementation. Is this something that everyone should be doing? Can nutrition replace it, or does it go hand in hand?
So supplementation honestly goes hand in hand with nutrition. Now what happens is, even if you're eating fabulously well, so you're eating your 2 or 3 meals with your entire balanced plate, but sometimes the absorption of nutrients in the body isn't to the fullest. And also, like we spoke about that today, also our foods, how they were really nutritious in the past, today soils are depleted. So the foods aren't providing to us what it's actually supposed to, and many a times that happens. So what you could do is supplementation, either in the form of pills or IVs. I mean, I'm not someone who enjoys pills, so IV is the way to go for me. So whatever works for you, but supplementation, you will notice that becomes an absolute game changer. And like, think of your balanced eating as petrol for your body, but when you supplement, it becomes like that high octane fuel, giving you like that accelerated speed and zeal to go forward with whatever life has to offer.
Amazing. Thank you so much. This was super informative. I know I learned a lot. I hope all of you did as well. I'm sure you did, actually. And please do subscribe to Elixir Wellness on YouTube for more. Don't forget to do that, and tune in soon for another episode of Spillingfacts.